Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Lunar Living, a weekly gathering where astrology becomes lived experience. The moon is our trusted guide, and every cycle invites us into deeper connection with ourselves, one another, and the world around us. Wherever you are, let's pause and take a breath and arrive just as we are. This isn't about predicting life, it's about living in rhythm with it.
And each week we'll explore the current astrology, the wisdom of the moon, and the energetic invitations unfolding around us, translating the language of the cosmos into practical guidance you can actually live. And together we'll help you to understand not only what is happening in the sky, but why it matters, how it might show up in your relationships, your emotions, your body, and your everyday life.
And we'll weave those insights into embodied practices, personal reflections, and relational awareness because transformation doesn't happen through information alone. It requires our experience. Our intention here is to help you use this wisdom to remember your wholeness and expand your capacity for growth, ease, and joyful living. I'm Colina Casa, founder of Satmam and creator of the Lunar Living Rhythm. For decades, I've explored what it means to live in rhythm with the moon, with my own body, with others, and with nature. I weave cyclical wisdom, embodied practice, and relational awareness so we can expand our capacity for meaningful connection with ourselves and our world.
And I am Eleni Prinsloo, astrologer, healer, and intuitive coach, and I love translating the wisdom of astrology into grounded, practical insights that helps people to navigate life with greater clarity, trust, and self-awareness. So together we'll explore the gifts, challenges, and invitations held within each week's cosmic landscape, making the heavens feel personal, accessible, and deeply supportive. We're so grateful that you're here.
Welcome. Ooh, so this week we've got the moon moving through Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius as she calls in some very specific conversations with some planets. And we have just moved, we've just experienced the basket astrology, which Eleni and I spoke about, and I'm going to hand this over to you so you can use your amazing words and share with us a little bit more.
Thank you. So welcome everyone. Welcome to Lunar Living's Weekly Astrology. As Kalina said, we are here to talk about the week of the 20th of July until the 26th of July. And so we're going to break it down for you step by step, piece by piece. And so on Monday, we have a T-square between the moon in Libra, Mercury in Cancer, and Saturn in Aries. We also have a Mars in Gemini square Venus in Virgo. And then on Tuesday, we have the moon square Jupiter and Pluto, another T-square. Mercury goes direct on Wednesday, so yay. Thursday, the sun moves into Leo, and then on Friday, we have the moon in Sagittarius opposite Uranus, creating the same astrological aspects as we had on the 19th of July. And so if you haven't watched that video, I'll link that into the description box below. Please go back and watch that video. There's a lot of beautiful information there. And if you haven't really watched the new moon video, please go back and watch that. I'll put that in the description box as well, because there's a lot of similar themes around Mercury, meaning being able to move forward. And then Saturday, Venus and Mars and the moon make a T-square. And then on Sunday, Saturn goes retrograde in Aries. And so the moon is very active this week. She is seemingly very busy. She speaks to all the planets and she's talking to everyone, like Helena was saying. So we know on the 19th of July, we had Barbault's basket creating the perfect formation. We also had the pentagram, the 5-pointed star. We were missing the 6th point of that aspect, which would be, the Star of David, or basically the Merkaba, or, another way of putting it would be the Seal of Solomon. We also had the mystic rectangle, we had a kite, we had the two mini trines. So there was a lot of stuff happening on that day. And then on Monday, so she's still in Libra, and so she's moving through Libra, through the degrees, and then she gets to 15 degrees of Libra, and she creates a challenging aspect between Saturn and Mercury in Cancer that's currently retrograde. That's about to come up from the shadows. He's about to station direct. So that means that Mercury will now move forward, and he's now back on his upper world journey, right? With the wisdom and everything that he's gained from being in retrograde, being in the shadow, being in the revisiting, the revising, the reflecting, the all the rewords, and then at the same time all of these old conversations coming back around, old ideas, old things like unfinished business that we may have had hints about, or oh yeah, or I wanted to do that thing and now it's come back around again. So all of these little hints, and so she is challenging these two planetary aspects. And so it's really a week of the moon challenging different parts of us, right? So our internal moon, the way that it's our inner world, it's our inner landscape, it's our subconscious mind. And all of these different aspects are speaking to one another in ways that invite growth through challenge. And it doesn't always have to be struggle. There's a difference between struggling and challenging. It can be that there's some friction that helps to create some, the T-squares create friction in order for us to grow, in order for us to overcome challenges and parts of ourselves that might not, be in alignment with one another. So the theme really is pretty much about balancing what we feel and what we think and what, we're being asked to commit to. So
Absolutely.
Saturn as a whole asks for maturity, right? Saturn is the planet of responsibility, duty, loyalty, maturity, and long-term planning and building and structure and discipline. The moon is seeking flow and grace and harmony, still being in Libra, right? And Mercury is asking us to revisit all of our old childhood wounds and beliefs and narratives that we've inherited, and places within ourselves that we have sort of, just pushed aside and ignored for a very long time. And now we also have Mars in a square with Venus, creating a little bit of friction between our doing energy and our receiving energy. So the shadow expression of what this T-square can bring up for us is we can react, we can respond emotionally rather than consciously or logically. We can feel very misunderstood. We can feel unheard. We can overthink conversations a lot. We can become very critical of ourselves and other people. And there's also like a feeling of being pulled between pleasing everyone else and then also honoring yourself. So the higher expression, however, is that, we're not slow to respond, but we're more conscious of how we respond. We practice to balance, we can balance and regulate our emotional bodies more. We can communicate with patience instead of urgency. We can allow differences of opinion to exist and be there without needing to fix it or without needing to be right. So what I want to just quickly bring into the conversation with regards to when Saturn squares Mercury, it's like, can you find a way to discipline your mind? Can you find a way to discipline your thoughts? Can you find a way to build healthier beliefs? Can you find a way to align your mind and your emotions to build something that actually is supportive rather than destructive? So that's kind of the invitation for Monday, where it's like, okay, can you notice how your beliefs are shaping and forming and playing? Can you notice how you're speaking? When Saturn squares Mercury, our words have a tendency to become quite harsh and hard if we're unconscious of this, right? So what happens a lot of the time is we'll be very blunt. Now that it's in Aries as well, there's a lot of, blunt speak, very direct, very impulsive, very cold, a little bit almost perhaps somewhat narcissistic in that approach, because we're not aware of the compassionate words that Mercury and Cancer normally would be able to bring through us, right? For us, activate with us. So let's say that, somebody in your house, your child or whatever, comes to you and you're in the kitchen and, your child comes down the stairs and they're like, oh my gosh, mom, I almost fell down the stairs. So like the normal response that you would have would be, are you okay? Did you hurt yourself? Do you need anything? Like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you didn't fall down the stairs. But now with Saturn square Mercury, the response is more, well, yeah, you were probably on your phone again. You weren't paying attention. Yeah, you need to be more responsible. Like you should, why did you do that in the first place? So it's very hard that empathy is missing, the compassion is missing, and that's all connected to the moon. So the moon is our empathy and our compassion and our nurturing and, like the loving kind, we want to take care of everybody and we want to love everybody and we want to have compassion for everybody. But when Saturn squares Mercury, the way that we communicate, think, speak, and that being in our emotional body, we may feel a lack of compassion and we may become hard with our words and our feelings. And we become very critical and very judgmental and very sort of just hard in general. So be aware of that. If you notice that within yourself, check, recalibrate, come back to center. Okay. The high road of this, the fortunate expression of this is that the moon, your inner world, your emotional body, it's in Libra. So it's saying to you, okay, I have my Saturn in Aries, so I want to build something from a courageous place, and I want to communicate and share something from a compassionate and empathetic space. So how do I get these two to start to work together? How do I actually balance this energy and start, instead of it being a difficult struggle against something, how can I actually transform the energy so that it becomes more collaborative, more empowering, more balanced? Am I making sense?
Yeah. What's coming through to sum up Monday's energy with the with Saturn and Mercury and the moon in Libra is, am I building foundations that can hold my voice? And who do I want to be in my voice? Am I using my voice for connection or disconnection?
Yeah,
That really sums it all up for me.
I like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Then Tuesday, we still have the moon in Libra, but we have the first
another
quarter moon
T-square.
and another square, a different
Yeah.
square. Yes.
Yeah. So Monday, I just want to wrap Monday up. So Monday, because we have Saturn and Mercury, okay, and we have the moon, the inner world, the emotional body, the caring part of us, the part of us that wants to create balance, the part of us that wants to be compassionate. If you do happen to be a little bit of an asshole on Monday, give yourself a bit of a break, okay? It's really not the end of the world, because these challenges are coming in to show you, so that Mercury, because it's still in retrograde, it's showing you where there is still stuff in the unconscious that needs to be dealt with, pertaining to how you share your emotional responses, how you communicate. And with Saturn there, it's like, I might not be as compassionate as I normally am, and I might not be as nice as I normally am, but that's okay, because it's showing me parts within myself that I still need to deal with, integrate, connect with, and soften to. Okay.
Mm.
So
And
choose.
noticing other people might not be as compassionate as they normally are either. Try not to react to it and create a whole cycle of, that disassociation.
Yeah.
And I forgot what the other point was. So let's go. Next one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good point to also just kind of bring in, because if I can just give people like real life examples. So imagine you're in the kitchen and you're washing dishes, right? And you've just finished cleaning the dishes and everything is sorted out. And your partner or your child or somebody comes into the house, a friend, whatever, and they put a dish in the sink and they walk away. Like the normal you would maybe shrug it off. The normal you would just go, oh, you know what? It's okay. I'm not going to be bothered. Or you might have a healthier response, right? Where you would say something along the lines of, hey, don't you think you could maybe wash that, instead of just leaving it in the sink for me kind of situation, right? But on Monday, we might be a bit more, like we might be a little bit more fighting and we might be a little bit more aggressive and we might want to, kind of like just say things from a different place. And so we can say stuff like, we can be very sarcastic and we can be very bitey and we can be very unfeeling and like the words that we would perhaps use is something along the lines of, hey, do I look like a fucking dishwasher? Wash your plate, bitch. Like it's that aggression, right? Like it's that kind of like we don't think about the stuff that comes out of our mouth when we're in that energy. And then it creates issues and then it creates an argument and then we feel bad because we were the ones that were insensitive because we weren't paying attention to our words, right? So um, this is where that Saturn Mercury Moon T square can create some challenges for us. So just being mindful and
Yeah.
being aware of that. All right.
It's
So then
not
on Tuesday,
it's not a permission to attack and it's not a get out of jail free. So be mindful of your words.
yeah, exactly. So Tuesday we have a T square between the Moon, Jupiter, and Pluto. So this changes the energy a little bit because now it becomes a bit of a dance between like power struggles and jealousy and ego and pride and these kinds of themes. Um, So there can be wanting validation, wanting recognition. There can be power struggles. We can be feeling very emotionally overwhelmed. We can, resist necessary transformation. We may have hard times apologizing. But the high road, like the more like conscious expression of this, the more loving expression of this, if you will, is we can lead with more humility. We can soften that ego. We can become more inspired. We can also inspire others rather than try and impress others, right?
Mm.
Um,
And with the moon being in Libra, we're looking to balance the scales, which is, I
yeah,
feel like, a blessing in the setup here. We're
yeah,
looking for
exactly.
balance.
Yeah, and so with the moon being also in Libra here, is like this. Our inner world is asking for peace. And now we're challenging the part of us that wants to grow and expand and be more creative. And we're challenged, and that, and we're also being challenged with the part of us that wants to be powerful, that wants to be in charge, that wants to be, in our sovereignty, that wants to be independent. And so it's like the moon is having, different conversations with these different aspects of us to say to like the Saturnian quality in us, well, where are you still distant and cold and unfeeling, and where are you overcritical? And then with Mercury, where are you still stuck in the wounds and in the old stories, and like thinking that you're not enough? And then she moves and she makes a conversation with Pluto and she challenges Pluto. Well, where are you not powerful? Where do you believe that you're, like weak, or where you're not impressive enough, or where you're not strong enough or confident enough. And then she's going to challenge Jupiter. Where do you play small? Where do you keep stuck? Where are you not shining? Where are you not where are you too full of yourself? Where are you living through your ego? Where are you only wanting, where are you not, you're expanding, but does it have depth? And does it bring you peace? And so it's like our inner world is meeting all of these archetypal expressions within us, all of these different parts of us, and she is challenging all these different parts to say, well, where are you still out of alignment? Where are you still operating from the shadow? Where are you still playing small and hiding and avoiding dealing with the stuff that you need to deal with in order to let go of the outdated versions of you, so that you can recognize your gifts, so that you can serve yourself, your family, and the collective, and so that you can inspire other people, lead other people from a place of heart, from a place of love, and from a place of peace and sovereignty and balance. So that is really the energies of Monday and Tuesday, but it can be a bit uncomfortable if we're not aware of it, right? So we can just kind of go through life, and all of a sudden we wake up Monday morning and we're annoyed and irritated, and we're snippy and sarcastic and cold and callous with our words. And then on Tuesday, it's like, now my ego is wounded and now my pride is wounded, and I don't want to, I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose the battle. I don't want to lose the argument. I want to be the one in control. I want to be the one in power. I'm going to fight, regardless of whether I was right or not. So it can manifest in, both multiple ways. But the point of this whole astrology conversation is like to see these things inside of yourself and to see how they express through you as you, so that you can clock them, become aware of them, integrate them, and then ultimately live from a higher, more conscious, more aware expression. So that is what is on offer for us on Monday and Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So Wednesday, Mercury goes
Absolutely.
direct.
And Tuesday's also the first Tuesday. Hold on. Tuesday's also the first quarter moon. So just noting that is a personal pivot point, noticing what our intention was in the new moon in Cancer a week ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And so making sure we are in alignment with that intention and taking that personal pivot to make sure we stay in alignment there. So whatever information's coming in is for our personal information. It's not information about that person being right or wrong, or that person being right or wrong. It's for our own pivot. So just keeping it home.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Wednesday.
Yeah, so
Scorpio moon.
I'm actually going to invite people to go back to the new moon video and watch that if you haven't watched that already, because that will, remember that any new moon cycle lasts until the full moon. So it has a longer impact than just the one day. So just remember that. Yeah, so on Wednesday, Mercury stations direct. I know that there will be lots of people very excited and very grateful for this, because when Mercury is retrograde in a water sign, we can be emotional, a lot more teary, a lot more kind of all over the place, but we can also feel a lot more creative and, like a lot more caring and a lot more compassionate and a lot more like, I want to cocoon and I want to be in my blanket, and I want to watch movies that make me feel good. And so it's both and, right? Like there's nothing wrong. It's just the way that it expresses through us. And so, but we can lack the discernment, we can lack the clarity, we can lack the directiveness of where we want to go. So there can be a bit of like confusion, there can be a bit, like our thoughts and everything, we can just be a bit like brain foggy. So now Mercury moves forward and finally that fog starts to lift, right? So all of these reflections and revisions and insights and into myself I see, all of these things that have happened over the past couple of weeks with Mercury being in retrograde, this now starts to kind of make sense. We start to come out the other end. We become a little bit more clear. We get the insights, we get the downloads, we get the understanding of what was happening. So be mindful that when Mercury goes direct, we can feel like our mind can want answers immediately. We can rush decisions before fully settling on what is actually right, what is good, what, we can take action, or we can choose things before clarity comes, before we're very clear, right? So this is like very impulsive decision making. And then also we also have a tendency when Mercury goes direct to think that all of the misunderstandings that have been going on is just going to clear up and like disappear. And it's like, no, sorry, not going to happen. You still have to apologize. You're still going to have to work at this. You're still going to have to take action on the things. You're still going to have to change the behavior. So you may have had the insights and the ideas and the downloads and all the different things that have come through for you. And that's amazing. But what are you going to do with this information moving forward? How are you going to use this information to make different choices, to respond differently, react differently, choose differently, take action differently? So that is sort of like what Mercury moving direct is offering to us in its highest expression, is the wisdom of what we have gained and how we can now use these insights in a new, more empowered way. So Mercury will help us to start to become more clear on the wisdom that we can take away from the insights that we've had over the last couple of weeks. So that is essentially what's happening for us as from Wednesday moving forward. Okay. Kalina, anything you want to add there?
Not really, just noting how, especially with the moon being in Scorpio, access to really intuiting more deeply how those lessons are meant to get traction, how the rubber is meant to hit the road for the recent things that are dropping in, not like the moment to do it all, just the awareness of that dropping in.
Yeah,
coming through.
Yeah, so the moon being in Scorpio in a trine with Mercury in Cancer, at some point they'll meet. That's going to be good because that's a really creative energy. So Scorpio is very artistic, very creative. It has a lot of depth. It can feel things and sense things and see things, and it's a really, really meaningful sign. A lot of people that have strong water placements, like Scorpio specifically, they're all artists. Like they paint and they create, and like they're all these, like they're the Salvador Dali's of life, right? And then you've got Mercury and Cancer, which is like the writers and the poets and the musicians. Well, that's more Pisces, but that's still that kind of energy. So there's a huge opportunity to also translate what we're feeling and thinking through creative expression. So art and writing and music and dancing and, whatever other forms of creativity you want to kind of tap into. So there's a beautiful opportunity this week to utilize the Mercury energy of comprehension and understanding, and then tapping that in with that Scorpio moon energy. So it's like we can actually find ways to deeply express our deepest, most inner feelings. We get to be able to communicate that in a really creative way. So that's pretty cool.
That Mercury still being in Cancer, it feels like to me it lends this energy of nourishment and coming home as well.
Yeah, it's a softness.
So it feels really nice. It can help soften, I think, the severe deep wisdom of Scorpio, which can feel harsh sometimes, and the Mercury being in Cancer can be nice and softening to that, but also still watery.
Yeah, there can be some compassion there, so that's kind of nice. So yes. All right, Thursday, Sun moves into Leo. So it's going to hit Jupiter at some point, right? It's big, it's bold, it's bright, you're shining. You know, there's joy and there's courage and there's like authentic self-expression, and there's like a shift in the energy, right? Like it's no longer in the watery depths of like the emotions and the arguments and the kind of just crackling energy of Saturn and the squares and the moon, and like all of that stuff is kind of shifting. And now there's a sense of lightness coming in on Thursday, where it's more of like, okay, we get to, we're a little bit more excited. There's more energy. We want to go out. We want to have fun. Um, we want to give generously. We can celebrate more. So there's a shift there that can happen, right? So there's a sense of growing brighter. The low road, however, is that we drop further down and then we start to become more egoical, more prideful. And then we're no longer just operating from the severity of Saturn, and the confusion of Mercury, and then the moon saying, hey, in Scorpio, like, okay, you didn't get the peace that you wanted. Well, now I'm just going to go into the underworld, and now I'm going to just, yeah, it can go really well this week, or it can get really ugly. Just depends on how you want to express these energies through you. So when the sun moves into
And I just want to say, if it's getting ugly, what tools are you reaching for? Are we reaching to, back into that old story that feels the ugliest? Or, the responsibility to move from ugly to beauty is right here, and it's accessible all the time. So if it's feeling really ugly, call on your personal tools, call on some external help if you need. Like, there are opportunities to switch that. We don't have to continue down the ugly pathway. And even just like softening nature, those are beautiful tools. So just noticing if things are feeling ugly, reach out to yourself, reach out to somebody else that can hold you without just projecting more of that ugly onto other people that can help refine that and ground that into something that can, once we ground the ugly feelings, like, the beauty starts to naturally open back up, so think of plants. So just wanting to note that.
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean that's the important thing, right? Like I feel like we've gotten to the stage in our lives where everybody here is an adult. And you see, this is
Most
my
of the time.
Saturn. This is what I mean when I say that Saturn is square Mercury, because like I'm gonna mother you and I'm gonna soften the blow energy, like, no. We're all adults, right? And at this point in our lives, we need to start being more responsible and accountable for who we are and what we do and how we respond to life. And so, if you constantly want to respond to life through the lens of I'm a victim and everything is happening to me and I can't deal with my ego and I can't check myself and I'm living through a sense of pride and I'm arrogant and I don't know how to soften and be humble and do the inner work, then that's your choice. But don't expect other people to align with that, and don't expect other people to respect that,
Right.
because we're at a point in our society and within life and within in places where all of these planets and all of these things have shifted, and we've spoken about this for a while. It's like you need to be accountable and responsible for yourself. With Saturn and Aries, it's like you have to be disciplined. I have to discipline myself. And I'm not saying that you have to discipline yourself by being hard on yourself, choosing hard words or putting yourself down. You can love yourself, but you have to hold yourself accountable to what standards you want to live by. And that is nobody else can do that for you. That's your choice. And so,
Choosing not to negatively self-talk is part of discipline.
yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so on Thursday, you know, that's the thing. Like it can go two ways. We can either sit with what's coming up for us on Monday and Tuesday and recognize the behaviors, the patterns, the old thoughts, the old ways of behaving, because the moon is creating friction there for a reason. Because it is the sub.
Regardless of whether somebody outside of us is the annoying thing.
Yeah,
Just saying
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Keep
No,
bringing
that's,
it back in.
yeah. Because that's the thing, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's like our subconscious mind, our inner world, these parts of us, that's the part that's being challenged so that we can see how our own internal disciplinarian is talking and expressing and communicating. Is it fair? Is it just? Is it balanced? So that we can start to notice these places within us, so that we can start to integrate them, work with them, and use our creative thinking, our, you know, that mothering, compassionate, creative thinking with the moon moving into Scorpio. It's like, can we bring that depth and that emotional, can we bring up the stuff from the underworld that we need to see and feel and express and, you know, clear and heal? And can we do all of these things so that we can actually start to become more sovereign, more empowered in our expression? Because Jupiter is still in opposition to Pluto, and this is like we mentioned that the last time. It's like, can you expand into your power? Not just for yourself through your own Leo ego, but for the collective, which is Aquarius. Can you do it from a humanitarian and a humane way? And that's the thing. And now with the sun moving into Leo on Thursday, that energy amplifies. And it's like, okay, good. You know, now I'm in Leo energy. I'm feeling fiery. I want to express. I want to create. I want to go out. I want to have fun. I want to dance. I want to party. I want to go to a show. I want to go to a restaurant. Like, I'm tired of this murky, deep, yucky energy from like Monday, Tuesday, watery depths. Like, oh my God, like, okay, let's lift up that energy. Let's go. Let's get some movement going. I want to go out. I want to have fun. I want to play with my kids. I want my inner child to come out. Like, that's the energy that we kind of can step into later on in the week, Thursday, and, you know, over the weekend as we kind of come along with that. So that's just something that, you know, we need to just be taking into account. And then Friday comes along. So Friday, the moon moves into Sagittarius, and she creates the exact aspects that she did on the 19th of July. The kite, the rectangle, the pentagram, all of it. Except this time, she's not in balance. She's in Sagittarius. Truth. Truth and higher learning, wisdom, education, spirituality, foreign cultures, growth, expansion, and broadening your perspective, religion, philosophy, all of these different themes. And Uranus is the apex on the 19th. That's where it anchors in radical, like, that is the day that everything changes, because Uranus holds the apex and he says, okay, cool, shit's got to change. We're bringing in something new, Uranus. But now on Friday, that planet is Neptune, which is love, creativity, spirituality, higher heart consciousness, trusting in divine timing, listening to your intuition, allowing yourself to dream beyond your current limitations, right? So the moon in Sagittarius awakens all of these different planetary aspects as what we had on the 19th. So it's a very similar theme, except this time she's coming at it from a place of, I'm looking for the truth. Only the truth will prevail. That which is false, that's why she's challenging Neptune, right? Where it's like, that's why Neptune holds the apex, because it's like, well, where there is a lie, where there is an illusion, where there is bullshit, basically, like that no longer stands. So now it's like, no, we're going to call on the truth. We're going to anchor in the truth, the highest truth for myself and all involved. We're going to explore, we're going to open up our perspectives, and we're going to see things completely differently. We're going to be more adventurous, more open, more curious to learn different things from different places, and we're seeking the fundamental truth, because that's the biggest thing that most Sagittarian people have. It's like they want the truth and nothing but the truth. So help them God, right? Like that's the energy. And so that is on offer on Friday. So Friday is a day where you really sit with this. Like, what is my highest truth? What is my purest, most authentic, most deepest truth right now? What is the truth inside of me that I have been afraid to see, that I've been afraid to live, that I've been afraid to create, that I have been afraid to own, that I've been afraid to experience, that I've been afraid to say? That's the magic here. What is that truth? And then once you know what that is, then you get to start to actually shift and change and integrate all of these different parts to move forward, to taking the action on the deeper truth that you now know and embody. And then you're no longer afraid to move forward, because the sun and Jupiter will give you that energy to say, screw it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take that risk. I'm gonna be courageous. I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna be the lion, Sabina, like I'm gonna roar. I'm gonna stand on that cliff. I'm gonna make that magic happen, and I'm not gonna back down. So we have that supportive energy behind us going, let's go. But you've got to see that truth first. You've got to be brave enough to admit the truth, what that truth is, and what is the wisdom that all of these things have given you. And then you can start to take action from a place of, okay, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to, I don't know why the fucking Lion King is in my head right now, but it's like, I'm going to battle with my Uncle Scar. I'm going to, show up.
The sun will be in Leo too.
Yeah,
of course it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And it's like, I'm no longer going to run away from my truth. And in The Lion King, Simba was like, no, well, you can't just fuck around with Timon and Pumbaa. Like, well, you can, but, you don't want to. You're the king. You're the king, buddy. So you're going to have to step up. You're going to have to show up. And that's the truth that he avoided for a very long time. Right?
But
and
avoiding it didn't bring him any satisfaction or contentment.
Yeah, because he had to deal with it eventually, right? And so he had to come to he had to sit with that and go like, okay, this is my deepest truth. So I have to go back. I've got to claim back my kingdom. I've got to step back into my power. I've got to build something for my future and for my community. So it's like the perfect analogy, right? And that's what we are also being asked of us, both individually and collectively, in whatever way that is in your life specifically. So yeah.
And just noting, Mercury is freshly moving forward. So new, fresh space with our voice, with our mental clarity as well with that.
Exactly. So Saturday, we have a little T-square, another one, between the moon, Mars, and Venus. Now, this is interesting because Mars is our doing energy, right? It's like our internal masculine energy. That happens to be in Gemini. So we want to talk about taking action. Venus is in Virgo, which is our receiving, okay? And that's sort of like our loving energy. It's like our feminine energy, okay? So now, the part of us that's in Virgo wants to receive like, okay, you know what I really want that's going to make me feel so good right now is like a really nice meal and a healthy meal and moving my body slowly and doing some yoga and, oh, you know what, I'm going to like, I want to drink tea and I want to like work with herbs and I want to go for a slow walk, like those kinds of things. And then the part of us that actually has to do it is the part of us that's in air that just talks about it and doesn't actually do it. So be careful of that, right? Like be careful of that because that's what happens over the weekend. So we know what's going to make us feel, we know what is going to make us feel so deeply taken care of and nourished. But the part of us that actually wants to action that is more, and I'm just going to talk about it and I'm going to not really go ahead and do it. And so the invitation is to try and get that Mars energy to support that Venusian energy by actually going ahead and taking action. Because remember that Virgo is also half air, half earth, hey? So there's a lot of thinking about doing stuff, talking about doing stuff, but the aspect of us that actually has to physically go and do that, that's kind of missing, because there's a bit of an imbalance there. There's a challenge there. There's a grating there between what I say I want to do and what I actually want to do, or at least what
So
I
it's
say
not
I'm going to
necessarily
do.
the day of like getting it all done, but getting your doingness to take that next step towards that. So you're energetically aligned and you're starting to move towards it. And that will create a source of contentment and knowing that you're in alignment. But no
Yeah,
action whatsoever is going to feel frustrating. Is that where you're going with that?
yeah, and yes, exactly. And also, like, be kind with yourself if you find yourself not doing the things that you want to do. Because the part of you that wants to do stuff is going to talk about it and think it, but you might not actually go ahead and do it. And
Make the
that's okay.
plans for when you're going to do it.
Yeah, you can do that the next week, or like whatever it is. But I'm just saying, I'm not saying that you won't get up and do it. I'm just saying that there may be resistance. And so you will have to overcome the resistance. And you will then actually have to literally go and do the stuff that you want to do. But there may be resistance there. So, you might want to go and for a walk, but you're thinking it, you're speaking it, you're talking it. But then there's like a push-pull energy where you're like, oh, I like, I want to go to the beach. Yeah, I want to go to the beach, but then I'm still sitting on the couch and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I haven't yet gone to the beach, even though I've spoken about it 3 times. So it's like that kind of energy, right? And so there may be a little bit of like pushing yourself slightly to get up and go and do the thing. So there's like a little bit of a challenge there with that kind of energy. But remember that also, Venus in Virgos and Mars in Gemini helps very much to set healthy boundaries, healthy and like really bringing in honest conversations, compassionate communication, um, 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 choosing um, choosing how you can be of service in the best possible way. Like, what is the information that you can share that will help to serve the whole or your community? Because Venus in Virgo is about service and Mars in Gemini is about communicating. So you might not, have a lot of fire as in, I want to get up and I want to hit the gym and I want to run 7 kilometers. But you may have inspiration and ideas as to speak about these kinds of themes. So you might share verbally information um, that will help serve people on how to take better care of their health, take better care of their bodies, nurture themselves through gut, through food, through wellness. So these are kinds of ways that you can work with this energy so that you don't feel, because Virgos can be very critical. And so you don't want to put yourself into a position where you end up judging yourself because you weren't able to do the thing in real life that you wanted to do. But you can talk about it, you can speak about it, so you can share that information and that wisdom and that insight with other people, and that will help them. That will be of service to them, right? But
So the doing this may be more verbal than physical.
correct,
Awesome.
exactly. So yes, so don't let that bomb you out too much. And then with the T square, the moon is obviously in Sagittarius, and it's like I want to go on an adventure. I want to go and do stuff. I feel really, called to go to the beach and go and have fun and go and paddle and you know, like eat food that I've never eaten before. And my Venus is like, yeah, let's go. And my Mars is like talking about it and I'm all excited. But then I'm still sitting on the couch and not actually doing anything. So it's a very mind mental sort of energy, and this is where that push pull energy comes from. So it's going to show you the places within yourself where you talk a good game, but you don't have the follow through. And then you can bring in that Venusian energy, that compassionate Virgo energy, and you can go, that's interesting. So I've been talking about going on a diet, and I've been talking about, like wanting to change my diet, wanting to get exercise, wanting to, be healthier. But I haven't done anything. I've just been talking about it. So you know what? With that friction and that tension, that irritation that you may feel within yourself, that might be the exact thing that kicks you on the ass and gets you to get up and actually go and do that thing. So it could also
I
act
think
as an
especially with Sunday's Capricorn moon, that gives us the opportunity, the Capricorn in us, which we all have somewhere, is going to say, okay, well, how did I do with that? And where's the next goal? Where's the next step on this? So as
yeah,
long as we keep it nice and not self-degrading, we
yeah,
can totally use that as information to fuel that next little leap.
yeah, exactly. And that's the cool thing. It's like, it depends on it depends on how each person works with the energy, but you internally might get so irritated with yourself because you're like, I've been saying that I want to get healthy for so long and I haven't been able to do it and I'm just so annoyed and like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna like fuck it. I'm just getting up and then you just go and do that thing. Like that's also something that can, how it can express. So it's like almost like it's like like it eats away at you a little bit to actually get you to now stop talking about it and start taking action on it. So that's another way that the energy might express. So that's kind of interesting, all of it together. So it's a really interesting week. And then on Sunday we've got Saturn going retrograde. So I'm like, oh, oh. Listen, I'm not a fan of a Saturn in any way, um, but with Saturn going retrograde in Aries, it's like, uh, it on the positive expression of this is that instead of it being like external building and achieving and external mastering yourself through behaviors and patterns and things, that shifts to internal. So it's like it's less about external and it becomes more of like internal mastery. So mastering your self-doubt, mastering your fears, mastering becoming conscious of like your self-criticism, the words that you use, the way that you describe yourself, all of these ways that we break ourselves down, that we're extra
And
hard on ourselves, right?
how long is Saturn going to be retrograde? Because it feels like a very great opportunity to double check our own inner foundations. Am I
I
building this on self-love? Am I building this on my gifts? Or am I maximizing and expanding my weaknesses and sharing my weaknesses right now?
Yeah. Okay. So Saturn will be in retrograde. I don't know. I have to check. I
Is
didn't
it
check
longer or
beforehand.
shorter?
I think it'll be until December.
Okay, so that's a longer visit,
Yeah. Yeah. 10 December.
which is actually, I feel that that's actually kind of beautiful because, any of those spaces where we put our foundations on other people, where what we built, didn't receive that full truth.
Mm,
And there was some illusion going on with what we had previously built.
yeah.
It gives us an opportunity for the whole rest of the year to really make sure our inner foundations moving forward are on solid ground
Mm,
of our true
yeah.
self, not who we wished we could be, or, a little bit of that influencer and, who we truly are and what we truly need.
Mm,
So even though it may feel like slowing, re-looking at the stuff that we just wish we could just be done with, it's going to make sure everything that we create from 2027 on is built on the foundation, not to have more tower moments, because just been through years of tower moments, like
oh my God, yeah.
the things that aren't, the things that we've built falsely or unknowingly without the right bricks are going to fall. So
Exactly. Yeah.
this is
So
ensuring that
Sunday,
what we build next doesn't do the same thing.
yeah. Yeah. So Sunday would be a good day to kind of sit with, and ponder upon, if you will. Like, where are you maybe like just reviewing, right? Journaling on, reflecting on habits, your relationship with authority, because Saturn is authority. What is your relationship like towards authority and restriction and structure? So are you the kind of person that likes to have a routine? If not, why? What about having a routine in your life or creating structure in your life feels uncomfortable for you? Where did you pick up on that belief? Why is that a
Mm-hmm.
thing? All right. So reflecting on places, because Saturn rules structure, self mastery, responsibility, loyalty, long term goals, career, law as well, and authority, leadership as well, and building long-term profits, sustainability, goals, etc., etc. And so if we have a big problem with like authority, we need to look at that and go, why? Like, and I'm not saying, authority as in I have a boss and I need to respect this person. And it's like the hierarchy, that kind of system. But it's more a case of like, what is my general relationship with people, places, things, and authority as a whole? Like, do I rebel against it? Do I feel squished by it? Do I feel like, I have to be my own leader here? Remember that this is an Aries. And so like maybe again, like where reflect on where am I giving my power away to other people? Where do I expect other people to govern me instead of me governing myself? Where am I expecting other people to make choices on my behalf instead of me choosing what to do for myself? Um, where am I wanting other people to take charge of my life instead of me taking charge of my life? And so these kinds of reflective questions could be very beneficial on Sunday and working with that. And yeah, like, it's going to be a 6 month period where Saturn will be in retrograde. And so we have an opportunity there to really reflect on that and sit with that and kind of feel into that. But also remember that Saturn in Aries in retrograde, it's about internal mastery. So mastering the places within yourself where you still have these
Mm.
imbalances within yourself. Okay. The higher expression is that,
Also, I just wanted, sorry, go ahead. I'll say it
no, no, no,
after.
that's just the higher expression of this with that internal mastery is that we get to refine our goals or redefine our goals. We get to strengthen our discipline, our internal discipline. We get to build resilience as well. So that's really good stuff, right? We get to also develop a lot of confidence within ourselves if we're people that aren't very confident within who we are. So when we sit with this and we look at the stuff that we've just spoken about, we can start to slowly build confidence within our choices, within ourselves. We can pull back that trust into self. And the sun being in Leo will help us to feel confident to do that. And Pluto in Aquarius, it will give us the information and the support on how to actually create that because Aquarius is very creative. So, yeah, and very intelligent as well. And so these are ways and means and methods that you can kind of feel into it. But obviously, with Saturn being in retrograde and having different aspects to different planets over the next couple of months, we'll speak about that more as well. But I think for now, that's all I have to say. I'm just going to kind of sum it up, and then I'm going to let Kalena do her magic. Um, I want to invite everybody this week to just become really conscious of their words and their choices and their behaviors. So notice how you speak. Are you hard? Are you soft? Are you dropping into that hard Saturnian, communication styles where your words are like kind of cutting, kind of brutal, kind of, like very sort of judgmental, very hard? Can you bring in more compassion? So doing that and then focusing and just paying attention to that and then find ways to create and express and then let the annoyance build up in you and let that gritty irritation within yourself kind of like work together to actually get you to do the stuff that you need to do. So taking going on that health journey and sharing that social media thing and like taking action on the stuff that you've been sitting on, that you've been talking about, but you haven't actually done anything towards. So let all of this kind of gritty energy in a way almost irritate you to the point where you're like, oh my God, I'm so annoyed with myself. Fuck it, I'm just going to get up and go and do it. Like, let that be the thing that helps you to, and so don't resist that, right? Like, don't fight against that. Use that as fuel. Use that as fuel to motivate yourself to go and do the stuff that you wanted to do for a long time, but that you've been avoiding or sitting on or, kind of like just running away from. So let that be the thing that helps to inspire you to take action. Shine, be happy, be bright. And it's very fiery. It's very, for me, like I feel it in my nervous system. It's like at the beginning of the week, it's a bit yucky because it's a bit like very low energy, but then, it picks up and you're like, oh, okay, like I can do this stuff. So it's like really just like looking at all of these places within and then having conversations with these parts and taking action on the things that bring you momentum. So yeah.
Hmm.
That is what I have to share and say. I do apologize in advance for everybody that's going to be watching this video because I can feel that I am very tapped into what this week is bringing through. And people might be watching this and going, oh my God, Elaine, what the fuck is wrong with you? But that's the energy of the week. This is what we're dealing with. So good luck. And now you see, I'm completely distracted. Like I'm also playing with my lights now, which I should not have done. But anyway.
I've been hearing a lot of astrologers say July 2026, like
Yeah.
the most transformational month in centuries,
Yeah,
not just
exactly.
this year. So, be gentle on yourself,
Mm.
be gentle with each other,
Yeah.
get more clear about your desires and your boundaries, who you are and what you want in life, so we can cultivate the energy to move into that more clearly. And the less we have to force it and the more we
Mm.
can ride on this impulse and follow those nudges and those creative impulses, um, the more we're going to feel in tune with ourselves, with the
Yeah.
world around us. We're going to feel like we are in flow. The stress is going to release from our bodies.
Yeah.
um, Keep taking those deep breaths, keep grounding
Yeah. And,
yourself, keep remembering who you are and who you've always been. This isn't about becoming somebody new. It's just about
oh,
becoming
it
more
can
and
be.
more yourself.
It can be becoming somebody new, something like somebody, because for some people, it's not about awakening who they've always been. For some people, it's like, you know what? I really want to just like recreate who like, I want to, like, I can feel
Yeah.
both and, right? Like, it's like I can become anything that I want to be, and I can become a version of myself that I have never been before. And then for other people, it's like I'm going to remove all the stuff that's not me so that I can come back to my essence and my truth. And so it's both and. So there's like a really cool opportunity for people to play. And that's the big thing. Like we've
Yeah,
got like the sun and Jupiter, play, have fun, be a silly child, like be the rebellious little teenager, like
absolutely.
go drink in
And
the parking lot, like go have fun.
either way, it's your divine nature that is leading you through it. So if you're feeling like I have to fit into the masses and I need to be like other people, that's ego, that's, victimization, that's our pain body speaking. So
Yeah.
just noticing the difference there. And whichever if you're creating something totally new or just really remembering yourself, just know that essence, that light essence is going to be um, your
Exactly.
guiding light, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Perfect. I love that.
without all the great words, thank you so much for being here, everyone. Thank you, Eleni, for a beautiful
Thank you,
conversation.
everyone. Can you
And we'll
see
see
that
you
my little
next week.
child is very, very excited? Anyway, all right, everybody. Love you all. Thank
And
you.
I see, thank you.